Okay, so let's talk about the weighted average cost of capital. So we know if we are not in a, if we do sensitivity scenario, we can see a whole lot of different things. And an optimistic, so look, if you look at discount rate, weighted average cost of capital, it can have different things: realistic, optimistic, and pessimistic, and all of these guys come from the driver assumptions here, right? So so we have many different kinds of weighted average cost of capital estimates, and we want to say if our value is optimistic, if our since our scenario is optimistic scenario, pick this guy. If our scenario is realistic scenario, pick this guy. If it is pessimistic, pick this guy. And then if we want to look at the whole optimistic whole sensitivity scenario, and then it depends on what these values are. What I mean is, if I do best case scenario, I want the weighted average cost of capital, this guy, to be the optimistic one. Okay, if I do pessimistic here, if I do realistic scenario, I want the realistic discount rate here, and so on. And in sensitivity scenario stuff, no matter what these are, the WSCC will depend on what I put in here. All right, that's what I want. So let's see how I can code that. So I'm going to get rid of that 10%, right? So 10%, assume 10% is no longer valid. We have a whole bunch of stuffs going on. So what I can do is I can be very clever here, because a lot of the formula over here is going to be very applicable to the formula here. Okay, so let me show you how. Right, so because I'm going to make references to here, so formula in 2016, weighted average cost of capital formula in 2016 is going to be useful here, because maybe just let's do it. Let me just do it. Type it in so that you can see it one more time. But remember, this formula is going to be very similar, so if you are clever, you can actually copy and paste that formula and make it work. So again, discount rate, I'm gonna say if this guy, sensitivity scenario, and let's lock that. We're not going to drag it across, but let's lock it. If that is equal to the driver assumptions here, best case scenario, then my weighted average cost of capital will be this optimistic one, otherwise, comma, close parenthesis, and I start another if statement. Now I should be able to copy it from here. If this K47, in fact, I can then copy the entire thing after plus and change just a little bit. If K47 is not B30, driver assumption B30, but B31, which is realistic situation, then I want weighted average cost of capital to be J19 instead of I20. It should be J20, so I change it to J20. Now again, comma, close parenthesis, plus if the same thing, that's why I'm able to copy it. If the same thing, K47 is worst case scenario 32, D32, B32, then I'll have the K20, the pessimistic one, not J20, but K20, pessimistic one, as my discount rate. Now we still have one more left. Okay, so let's stop here to here. Let's stop the formula here and see what I find. I somehow made a mistake somewhere, a little small error. Sorry, not, so I said instead of B31 I just typed 31, so B31. What else? Driver assumptions B32. So it gives me 0 because right now I am in sensitivity scenario and I have not specified a condition for that. Okay, so if I do best case, it changes to 4.89. Okay, if it is realistic, it changes to 8.03. Okay, now if it is worst case, it changes to 11.02. But if it is sensitivity scenario, I want to specify our own thing each time. It returns 0 because we have not specified a condition for that. Okay, so that's what we are gonna do again with the if statement. Now I can do plus if statement if this guy is equal to, go back to driver assumptions, sensitivity scenario, then again we are going to do a h lookup function. Then we're going to say, then look at this value here and give me the rate associated with it. Then I'm going to say, then I'm going to say h lookup if value true is h lookup look up this value and let me pull the function h lookup, look up that value, whether it's if it is sensitivity scenario, look up this value in table array is driver assumptions table right here, this table. Okay, now it's a row input, row index number because it's in a different row. So a row index number is 2 and range lookup is 0, false. Okay, so I want to see exact same number. So what it does is it picks up, so it picks up the value depending on what it is. So if I want, under sensitivity scenario, if I want optimistic, it will give me the optimistic rate, smallest rate. If I want it pessimistic, it will give me the pessimistic rate, pessimistic discount rate, and so on. Okay, so it is a lot to take in. However, this model makes your analysis really flexible. So again, it is daunting when you start, but if you do it a few times, you should be fine. Okay, so let's hope for that. Alright, so that was for the discount rate. Let's also do the free cash flow growth rate. Right, we can assume free cash flow rate is going to remain as average, or it's going to change depending on our analysis. Again, we can go, we can do a similar thing here. We are going to say, if we go to driver assumption, we have free cash flow different values. Historical, analyst forecast, optimistic, pessimistic, and realistic. We can apply these things. We can apply that here. Now here the formula becomes really similar to other things we did, right? So this formula was, since this is from the same table, this formula, free cash flow formula, is going to be similar to what we see here. So let me just copy this. Let me just copy the inside of this formula, cut the formula, and paste it here. Okay. Now let's see what changes, what we need. If we say, if it is K47, if this value is K47, if the value K47 is B30, is the optimistic one. B30 is the optimistic one. B30 is optimistic, 31 realistic, 32 pessimistic. So if it is optimistic one, pick this value. If it's realistic, pick this value. If it is pessimistic, pick this value. Okay, that's all it says. So let's do that. So if driver assumptions, this is B30, if it is optimistic, pick not the E2 one in driver assumptions, but E17, because that's the optimistic one. The other one will be F17 in realistic situation. The other one will be G17. So E, F, G17. So E17, then not F2 but F17 in realistic situation. In pessimistic situation, in B32, G17. Okay, so we have done optimistic, pessimistic, realistic. Now we have to do the sensitivity and scenario approach. So what do we do here? Now in sensitivity scenario, the HLOOKUP function will work like that. Go to the HLOOKUP function, then find out, depending on whether historical average for analyst forecast, optimistic, pessimistic, HLOOKUP all the way to column 17. Okay, so HLOOKUP, if this driver assumption is sensitivity scenario, then HLOOKUP not K19, so HLOOKUP not this K19 value but this value, K65 value, HLOOKUP that in driver assumptions, that big table, and go to the 17th column. So let me pull the HLOOKUP formula. So look at K45, get K45, table array, same big table, big one. Alright, then row index number is the 17 number, 17, and range lookup is 0. Okay, so if it is sensitivity scenario stuff, just use the HLOOKUP function. So what is it right now? It is optimistic, so it's 4%. If it is pessimistic, then let's see how percent it is. Pessimistic, it's not changing for some reason. K45, optimistic, FCF growth rate, alright, let me see if I do optimistic here. So best case scenario changes, does not change. So best case scenario, realistic scenario, okay, it changed to 3%. So best case scenario, optimistic scenario 4%, realistic scenario 3%, and then it is 2% worst case scenario. So let me see if it's changing. Then worst case scenario, it should be 2%. Okay, it is 2%. Now let's look at sensitivity and say pessimistic, and let's see what that gives us. 2%. Okay, it's working, so that's good. So now these formula, discount rate and free cash flow growth rate, they have been already linked. Okay, so this is already linked with this big table, so that works. Now next what we need to do is to link all of this stuff back to our original tables. Okay, so go back to our income statement and say Now sales growth, cost of goods sold, SG&A are not historical value anymore, but that equals these values. Okay, so 4%, right now they are 4% and so on. They're optimistic situation, they're in optimistic situation, so they're increasing over time. And I'll drag it down and see all of that changes depending on how the stuff over there will change. Then I go to balance sheet and start to change, not do anything with the historical remains the same. The forecast variable, instead of being historical stuff, the forecast variable, instead of being remaining historical stuff, is going to change to, okay, starting from days sales outstanding. So days sales outstanding, this guy, okay, goes all the way across, goes all the way down, and so on. Okay. Statement of cash flow, the only thing that's going to change is the dividend here. So go back to that and say dividends are going to be that. Just drag it across. Alright. Now let's see what the value has been for us. So implied stock price in, so the implied stock price in, let me see, in the best case scenario is going to be $61. Implied stock price in realistic scenario is going to be $52. Implied stock price in the worst case scenario is going to be negative $84. Okay, so as you know, this formula is not foolproof. This negative stock price means our free cash flow valuation has not been that good, and so on. The one thing that happened was our free cash flow growth rate, interestingly enough, the worst case scenario, it kind of blew up. Okay, so it decreased by 18, and so on. The free cash flow blew up. So I go to sensitivity scenario, maybe change everything to pessimistic, except for pessimistic here, pessimistic here, pessimistic here. Maybe change everything to pessimistic, and see how that changes our value. So everything pessimistic except for, what is that? DNA, and so on. So everything is pessimistic, 25.06. So interestingly enough, if I make that pessimistic, so our pessimistic is not exactly the same as worst case scenario, because worst case scenario will start from pessimistic and keep on decreasing or increasing depending on what happens. Okay, so if we do everything pessimistic, then 25.26%. So the model, the final result does not matter. The final result does not have to be exactly correct. So in the worst case scenario, if it blows up, it blows up. We don't, I don't mind that, and you can go back and interpret why is that true. But so this is the final outcome I wanted to see, right? So look how flexible this model is. Now still, it's not a perfect thing. It's not a perfect thing, but imagine what kind of analysis, what are the possibilities in here. We can do lots and lots of different things to this model to see the effect of each of these things in our evaluation. We can say, all right, let's say everything is realistic. So let's, in sensitivity scenario, I can say everything is realistic, everything is realistic except I want everything will be at the historical average, then you can do this. Okay, as long as these categories are the same, you can do that. See, WSCC is different, so don't drag it across in WSCC. Everything will be historical average. So everything can be historical average, and you have to make sure this is 0 to otherwise the historical average will keep on increasing or decreasing. So everything is historical average, except that we want our sales cost of goods sold to be our optimistic, you know, cost of goods sold to be pessimistic is larger, optimistic is smaller, realistic is 72.97, optimistic is 71.94, pessimistic is 73.94, and so on. Let's see how these guys are. Optimistic cost of goods sold, optimistic is 71, realistic is 72, pessimistic is 73, because these guys came from analyst forecast, right? So I want everything to be some other things to be optimistic and so on, right? I can change like that. So okay, so try to do this thing for Amazon.com. I know this was a long video, and I really appreciate you guys staying here, and doing this thing for us. So something happened if I want to change this to WSCC Pharma Friends plus SR CPT. Maybe the HLOOKUP function did not like that, and so on. So if I do optimistic, realistic, pessimistic, it works out. So free cash flow growth rate becomes -2, so it will not be foolproof, and there will be a lot of troubleshooting to be done, but it should at least work in some situations. So realistic, best case scenario, for some reason these are not working out, because the circular reasoning function kind of gets messed up and all that stuff. So options, formally circular reasoning is working. That means I have to retype this thing. Fully diluted shares, start with 1000 and then change it back to that. Okay, so sometimes it will do that. So let's go back to the worst case scenario and so on. Okay, so try this and do your best with the homework. The more you practice, the more you do the troubleshooting, the better you'll get at it. I want to see like at least most of your sensitivity and scenario stuff works. It has been a lot of work, I understand, but you can do it. I had to go through a few steps to get a full grasp of this thing myself. So if you try hard enough, you'll get a hang of it. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and we'll be doing the practice on Tuesday's class as well as on Thursday's class, and this homework is due Friday, so you'll have plenty of time as well as plenty of opportunity to meet me and during this time. Okay, all the best. Thank you very much. Bye. Again, one more thing, this will be posted over there. This will be posted on Canvas, so you can see the formula and things like that to help you further. All right, thank you very much. Have a good day.